It all began with a yellow envelope slipped under my windshield wiper, its glossy plastic finish practically shouting violation in bold letters. My car, though, was parked flawlessly in a VY site-approved spot verified by both my app's timestamp and the HOA's printed map. I stared at the ticket for a solid minute, noticing it lacked any official logo, watermark, or even a legitimate department name. It simply read, CIVYC Compliance DVY Shaun, a title that sounded like someone had mashed together three vaguely official words on a whim. I peeled it off with a grin, figuring it was a prank or maybe a misplaced prop from the high school theater club down the road. Then I spotted two more identical citations tucked under other windshields on the block. Something was off. None of the neighbors had mentioned new parking rules, and our HOA only used city parking staff or their own contracted patrol, both of whom wore actual uniforms. I snapped a photo and headed inside, unaware this was the first hint of an HOA drama starring the most audacious fraud I'd ever encounter. The next morning I caught her in action. A woman in oversized sunglasses, a neon yellow vest that screamed dollar store clearance, and a clipboard so hefty it looked like she was auditioning for a TV show about overzealous bureaucrats. She strutted from car to car like she owned the place, scribbling gibberish onto carbon paper and shaking her head at tires with theatrical flair. "Excuse me," I called out, feigning a casual tone as if I were just walking my dog. "Are you with the city?" She didn't flinch, just waved her clipboard like it was a royal decree. "Private enforcement," she declared with the smugness of someone who'd never been trusted with more than a shopping list. "HOA's new third-party compliance contractor." I blinked. That was a wild claim. Our HOA president, though strict, wasn't known for hiring random women in knockoff safety gear to play parking cop. "And your name is?" I asked, half curious, half expecting something ridiculous. "Officer Linda," she replied, dead serious, which instantly raised red flags. She pointed at my car with her pen like a maestro directing an orchestra. "You've been fined 3 times already. That's a bootable offense under Article 5, Section 3 of the community's CIVYC Cleanliness Pact." Now that sounded like pure nonsense, and it was. Our community handbook, which I'd helped re-VYSE last summer during a cleanup project, had no Article 5, and the community's CIVYC Cleanliness Pact didn't exist unless you counted my nephew's chore chart taped to the fridge. I asked for ID, and she flipped her clipboard with flair, revealing a flimsy inkjet-printed card in a plastic sleeve that looked like a cereal box prize. The title? CIVYC Peacekeeping Liaison. I bit back a laugh. That's when she pivoted, launching into a rant about residents like me who think they're above the rules and how she had full administrative booting powers over non-compliance. "Booting powers?" I echoed. "Like the authority to lock up my car?" She nodded like she ruled the asphalt. "You're lucky I haven't called for towing yet." It hit me then. This wasn't just a prank. She genuinely believed she had power and she was escalating. That afternoon, my neighbor Mike found a similar fake ticket, this one stamped, "Final Notice" in Comic Sans. Linda was stepping up her game. By the weekend, several residents found melodramatic warnings shoved under their doors, one with clip art of a tow truck, another with a fake legal threat proclaiming, "Vehicular noncompliance is a CIVYL sin," in fiery sermon font. Linda had parked her dusty blue sedan near the entrance, now decked out with traffic cones and a "permit checkpoint" sign taped to a folding table. She was getting bolder. "This is a compliance zone now," she told me when I confronted her again. "We're cracking down on infractions." "Who's we?" I asked. "The CIVYC Unity Force," she replied, stone-faced. I had to walk away before I burst out laughing, but unease was creeping in. This wasn't just a quirky neighbor with a clipboard, she was impersonating authority, and some elderly residents were already shifting their cars every 2 hours, terrified of her imaginary boots. I checked the HOA portal, no mention of any parking changes. That's when I called my aunt, the city's head of parking enforcement and a force of nature when riled. "Text me her photo," she said with chilling calm. "I'll be there tomorrow." That's when Linda's scheme started to collapse. By 8:15 a.m. I was perched at my kitchen window, coffee in hand, watching Linda circle my car like a predator sizing up prey. Her outfit had evolved or devolved. Same neon vest, now paired with a plastic badge zip tied to her hip and a fanny pack emblazoned with "enforcement" in glittery letters. She unzipped it with ceremony, pulling out a bright yellow boot that looked like a Halloween prop. Plastic, I swear, plastic. Undeterred, she crouched dramatically and slid it onto my tire, muttering, "Justice must be served." I grabbed my phone, slipped on sandals, and strolled out, playing dumb. "Oh hey," I said, eyebrows raised. "New accessory?" She jolted like I caught her stealing, then spun around with rehearsed fury. "You've been non-compliant for 3 days straight," she barked. "Per CIVIC Statute 14b. Still not real," I cut in, but she steamrolled on. "You're now subject to immediate immobilization pending fine reconciliation." "You booted my car?" I said, fighting a grin. "With what, a bike lock and a toy clamp?" "It's regulatory-grade immobilization," she snapped, as if volume made it legit. "You can't move this vehicle until further notice." "Says who?" I pressed. She waved a pink form in my face. "Per this citation and seizure order." I leaned in. The fine print literally said, "This is not a legally binding document. I'm not making this up." I pulled out my phone and hit speed dial. "It's time," I said. Linda smirked. "Calling backup?" "Too late. This vehicle's under administrative lockdown. I've logged it in the database." "What database?" I asked. "You know, the system." "You mean Google Sheets?" I pointed at her laptop. "Open to a tab labeled Parking Tracker Final. Use this one.xlsx. She slammed it shut. "I'm authorized," she hissed, stepping between me and my car like I might ram it. "You're about to be in trouble if you tamper with an active boot," she warned. "You mean this?" I bent down and lifted the boot off with 2 fingers. No lock, no resistance, just plastic hugging my tire. Linda gasped like I'd defiled a relic. "That's a federal offense." "No, Linda," I said, "it's barely a toy." She lunged as if to snatch it, but then my aunt rolled up in her city-issued SUV, parking enforcement crest gleaming. Linda froze, her bravado evaporating. Aunt Diane stepped out, boots clicking, sunglasses on despite the clouds. She surveyed the scene with the plastic boot. Linda mid-standoff, fanny pack sagging for 5 silent seconds. "Ma'am," she said, voice flat, "care to explain why you're impersonating city personnel?" Linda blinked. "I'm not impersonating. I'm a CIVIC compliance liaison. We operate independently." "Funny," Aunt Diane said, flashing her badge. "I'm the head of parking enforcement for this district, and I've never heard of a CIVIC compliance liaison." Linda paled, then doubled down. "Maybe you're just outdated. The HOA gave me full authority. I have documentation." "Show it," Aunt Diane said. Linda fumbled through her clipboard, producing a crumpled email in 16-point Comic Sans from Jeffrey, interim compliance lead. Aunt Diane squinted. "There's no Jeffrey. The HOA president is Priya Shah, and she doesn't hand out authority to random people with dollar store props." Linda's face twitched. "I've been documenting everything. I filed citations." "You fabricated citations," Aunt Diane corrected, "on property you don't own, under laws that don't exist, while impersonating a contractor. That's 3 offenses. They're not real boots." Linda protested, as if that helped. "They're symbolic." "So you admit your tools are fake," Aunt Diane said. "Get this on VY she told me. "Already streaming," I replied, showing the live chat filled with laughing emojis. Linda turned beet red. "You can't prove I was impersonating. I'm a volunteer." "Ma'am," Aunt Diane said, stepping closer, "you're wearing a badge, using a title, and issuing fake citations under the guise of government enforcement. That's criminal impersonation and false documentation." Linda muttered about being misunderstood, just trying to keep the neighborhood tidy. Then my neighbor Sarah walked up with her terrier and said, "Lady, you ticketed my dog stroller. You need help." Linda didn't respond, just backed toward her car. Plastic boot still in my hand. "Don't worry," Aunt Diane said, snapping a photo of Linda's license plate. "We'll follow up officially." Linda yelped, "I'll see you all," before peeling out at a snail's pace, the boot bouncing off her bumper like a final jab. We thought that was the end of Linda, but 48 hours later, she was back, not humbled, but rebranded. No longer just a CIVIC compliance liaison, she was now the acting HA chair of emergency parking reform, according to pamphlets she taped to mailboxes. She claimed it was a temporary override committee to fix ineffective oversight personnel, aka get my aunt fired and crown herself neighborhood overlord. Our group chat blew up with screenshots of an email she sent every HOA member. Urgent action required. Parking chaos caused by unprofessional behavior or. It accused Aunt Diane of threatening her, seizing her tools, and sabotaging her volunteer program, which she claimed had achieved historic citation compliance in 72 hours. She attached a spreadsheet of fake stats: 88 Fantram better parking symmetry, 40 Fantram fewer parking clashes, and a driveway happiness index with a checkmark-shaped graph. It was bold, delusional fiction. Aunt Diane, a 20-year veteran, just laughed. She cited herself as deputy coordinator of neighborhood harmony. That's not a thing. But not everyone found it funny. 3 board members, either confused or dazzled by Linda's nerve, agreed to hear her out at the next HOA meeting. That's when the madness turned into a circus. Linda arrived at the clubhouse like she was campaigning for mayor of a parking dystopia. Blazer with shoulder pads, a gold foil badge, and a Bluetooth headset connected to nothing. She handed out laminated proposals with rules like vehicles must smile, meaning decorative license plates, no car shall face north for over 4 hours, and all compliance queries go to my office, her porch. Her slideshow, The Enforcement Future, Order from Chaos, featured traffic cone clip art and scales of justice. We're in a parking emergency, she proclaimed. The current system fails. The people want law. Structure me. Sarah raised her hand. Linda, who are the people? Everyone I've talked to wants you to sit down. Linda barreled on. I bring VY Shaun, courage, and bulk high VY stability vests. When asked for credentials, she cited 3 YouTube compliance webinars. The tide turned when she played a doctored VY Deo of her clash with Aunt Diane, stripped of context, with dramatic music and captions like, CIVY Lien under siege. Is this MOVYE trailer? A board member asked. Yes, Linda said, for my documentary on my fight for neighborhood justice. Aunt Diane, sipping a Diet Coke in the back, stayed calm. She brought her city ID, photos of Linda's fake boot, complaint logs, and a body cam recording of the whole fiasco. When Priya, the HOA president, asked if Linda had legal grounds for her citations, Linda claimed soft authority through community respect. You zip-tied a toy boot to a city employee's niece's car, Priya said. And you don't even live on that block. I'm mobile enforcement, Linda shot back. My jurisdiction is fluid. No, Linda, Priya said, exasperated. That's not how this works. The meeting dissolved into laughter when Linda called a compliance recess and no one budged. An elderly man whispered, Is she okay? Loud enough for the mic to catch. Still, Linda had one last move. She stood, flipped her clipboard, and announced a misconduct claim against Aunt Diane. She's a menace, endangering lives by undermining proactive parking leadership. Priya blinked. Your enforcement devoy was a toy boot, Linda. A symbol. Linda yelled, hoisting it like a trophy. The HOA voted to ban her from issuing materials, impersonating staff, or attending meetings for 90 days, citing persistent delusion of authority and glitter-based intimidation. Linda stormed out, yelling, This isn't over. The streets will remember me. Her car, now blocking a fire hydrant, sealed the irony. But Linda's saga didn't end there. It veered into crime. Within 48 hours, she sent an email blast. Compliance 2.0, new system launch. She'd built a website, mycivyccodesafe.net, posing as the HOA's official portal for paying citations and booking parking audits. It featured a gavel slamming a car and a payment form for names, addresses, license plates, and credit cards. She listed her own address as the compliance billing office, with a fake suite number. Neighbors flooded my phone with screenshots. An elderly couple had already paid $245 for non-aligned vehicle citations, fearing a tow. This wasn't funny anymore. I texted Aunt Diane, and by 2 p.m., 3 city officials joined her outside Linda's house. I watched from the sidewalk as Linda shouted through a cracked door, You can't barge in without an appointment. This is a sovereign enforcement dwelling. Aunt Diane raised an eyebrow. You're running a fake payment scheme from your garage. It's voluntary compliance through a decentralized model. Linda yelled. That's not a sentence, an officer muttered. After some rustling, Linda emerged in a caution tape sash, clutching a folder like it was scripture. I'm invoking residential jurisdiction, she declared. You have no authority here. We absolutely do, Aunt Diane said. This isn't feudal England, it's a suburb. Linda waved her folder. You're mad because the people want order. Ma'am, an officer said, do you deny running a fraudulent website that tricked residents into GIVYing personal and financial info under false pretenses? Linda faltered. It was voluntary corrective action. No one was forced. You're not a governing body, he replied. This violates multiple laws. Linda froze, then shrieked. I'll sue for harassment. This is civil disobedience. Parking reform is my life. And wire fraud might be your future, Aunt Diane snapped. An officer photographed Linda's laptop, still open on a lawn chair, showing the active payment portal. Linda lunged, screaming, "That's private," but was stopped. Then Priya arrived with security footage from the clubhouse printer. Linda had used HOA equipment to print every fake ticket, racking up Dula 180 in charges. She used our good cardstock, Priya said, fuming. That's not embezzlement, Linda whispered. It's administrative overflow. You printed a manifesto called The Parking Purge, Priya said. With 17 vehicle sins like bumper laziness. Symbolic sins. Linda snapped. You're going to jail, an officer said, stepping forward. Linda stumbled back, nearly tripping over a bucket labeled Boots 2.0 prototypes. You can't arrest me, she whimpered. I'm the solution. No, Aunt Diane said, you're the problem. And now you're ours. Even after her arrest-worthy meltdown, Linda lingered like a stubborn stain. Her garage, now a compliance lair, was exposed by my neighbor Tim's drone, handmade signs like tow zone maybe and unforgivable curb crime, a corkboard of driveway photos marked repeat offenders, and a flowchart to become Supreme Compliance Chair. By 2026, a binder labeled CCC Internal Strategy Phase 2, Linda's CIVYC coalition, listed fake titles, minutes, and 2 real residents as deputies, including Gentle Dan, who thought it was a book club. She gave us vests, Dan said, horrified. I thought we were measuring sidewalks. The real betrayal came from Linda's co-commissioner, Rachel, who arrived at the next HOA session with a binder, The Truth About Linda. She confessed Linda started with flyers, then escalated to fake citations and a spreadsheet of license plates. Linda had collected dues from 6 elderly residents for parking peacekeeping, buying a rhinestone taser holster and glitter whistle. I paid for that whistle, Sarah gasped. Linda had falsified petitions with 40 signatures, 17 from pets or TV characters, and tried to trademark curb compliancy under her LLC. Her car, parked over the sidewalk edge, violated HOA code the whole time. You booted everyone but yourself, Priya said, tape measure in hand. Linda's empire fell not with grace, but with glitter and a squeaky whistle.